Thank you. I will look into that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, because I feel all boosted now. I really do. Yeah. When you're ready, Adriana.
Okay. Thank you again for your wisdom as well, because that was a question that's been on my mind for days. I appreciate you for that. So the first official question we have is, how does taking care of your physical health impact your spirituality? Whoever wants to jump in first.
All right, I'll jump in. So our physical health, right? Our physical body is our temple. And I think as we are intentional about what we put into our physical body, as I mentioned, the music, the food, the books, all those things feed us, they fuel us. And so as we're intentional about putting those things, our spiritual health, our spiritual well-being will be more in attune, will be at the highest, the highest level, so that we are attuned and aware to pick up things from the body sensations, from the energy of being the light in the room versus the dark. If we are waking up and feeling fatigued most days, we're gonna be the dark in the room. You know what I mean? And so even that awareness of, like, when you talk about like being around people who are triggers, like, okay, sometimes we could be people's triggers, and it's all about like, okay, all right, I'm gonna be intentional today about that, because I need to move, I need to walk today. Have I walked? It's not just about steps, because that was the other thing about being in Thailand. I couldn't do yoga for 10 days, but they want you to be strict and just do what they say to do. So all I could do was walk. That was it. So I made sure I walked there for every meal. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, coming back now, do I walk after every meal in Jamaica? Probably not. But should I? Probably. But it's just a matter of these things. And, I think that intentionality about, like, how am I moving? What am I putting into my body? How am I resting? Right? Because we need rest. So, yeah, I think physical is super important, because that will mirror your spiritual. And here was one other thing. A lot of times when I do, especially for plant medicine programs, you have to go on what's called a dieta. And that means no alcohol, no coffee, no cigarettes, no herb, none of those things, right? So totally clean. Some of them even say no meat, no cheese, no dairy, no eggs, no fish. Because when you put your body in those states, say if it's for like a week, 2 weeks, a month, you are at a higher level of attunement to pick up information. Period. Energy and information. You just are. And so it wasn't until I started doing more of those, whether you want to call it a fast or a dieta or whatever, that's when I was like, oh wow, my body is like I'm super aware and can pick up things. And if I eat a scoop of this, then tomorrow my eyes are gonna be, leaking or whatever the case is. So it's a lot of that when you think about like your physical health and well-being, and then looking at like, okay, I can't connect to myself. I haven't had no dream in like a month. Why not? Are you drinking alcohol? You know what I mean? And I'm not putting down nobody having a glass of wine or a dragons are my drink. But yeah, I'm not. But it's also looking at, again, like the moderation of these things. Have you had a salad? You know what I mean? Have you had a soup? Do you drink tea? So, yeah. And yeah, just going back to like the writing and the reading. How are you fueling and feeding that spirituality. You know, do you even connect to yourself spiritually? Some of us don't. Right?
100%. Imai, were you wanting to chime in? I haven't heard from you from a while.
Yeah, I've been listening, and what was just said made me think about how my dreams have been heightened. Like, I remember the dreams that I've been having for like the past 5 days, and I don't think I've been intentionally eating a certain way, but since I've been back from the cruise and I'm traveling to work, I'm only having fruit, nuts, seeds, only drinking mainly water. If anything, I'll have a kombucha or something like that. The dreams have been lucid. So that's what I just want to jump in and say with it. Is just like that. So that's like showing how the physical acts I'm taking are paired with the spiritual side, and I'm having these visions and thinking, yo, how is this related to what's going on right now? Because dreams are another thing that maybe we had to go into a bit more depth. I think we talked about it in one of the workshops about dream journaling and really just dissect that part of it. But for myself, I think I answered it in the promo that there's no disconnect for me between the physical and the spiritual. It's all something that's working together.
Caroline?
Yeah, I mean, it's all, everything that's just been said is definitely ever present for me, because I'm right in the middle of a physical challenge, and I don't see it as punishment. I see it as the Most High syncing me up. It's the Most High pushing me to my next stage. So Synthonia and I have had this conversation that there's things I'm doing well, but there's things that I just need to take to the next level. Simple as that. And I was watching Brené Brown actually on Diary of a CEO, and she said to Stephen Bartlett, when you get to 40, the spirit world, the universe will say to you, enough is enough now. Like, you're gonna do what you need to do, the way you need to do it. All that messing around, all that, that's over. Like, it's real time now. And I feel like that's happened to me, and I feel like I've elevated, and I feel like I'm in a really good place. But where the Most High wants me, this physical is to push me to the spiritual. So like Immanuel said, because it was so extreme. If I wasn't spiritual, I would have been traumatized by it, and I wouldn't have been able to use my mind to heal, because that was the first lesson, is use your mind. You need to see the end of this. You need to see that you are going to heal it. And one of my affirmations is, I am a healer. I've always been a healer. I've known that about myself from a young child. So I'm a healer. So if I'm a healer and I go out there and I heal other people through my work, not in the medical way like Irijah, but as a support to young people who've experienced trauma and things like that. If I'm a healer, I've got to heal myself. So that was number one. Number two was, you got your mind. Now you need to really engage your body. And like Irijah said, you get more clear signals. You get a deeper communion when you clear out your vessel. You know what I mean? When your vessel is cleaner. So I was fasting for 48 hours. When I was breaking the fast, I was very mindful about what I was breaking it with. Like Irijah said, broths, things like that, soups, things with a high vegetable content, water content. And I was being mindful about enjoying that food, not just eating any old rubbish. You know, the Most High, through this physical circumstance, has forced me to, literally, it feels like the Most High's gone, sit down. You know what I mean? Sit down and steady. So I've been forced to sit down and listen and focus on myself, because nothing else matters when you're in that state of despair physically, when it's that bad. The only thing I could focus on was me. And the synchronicity of it was my daughter's gone to university, so she's not home, and the other one's at my mom's house. So after week 1 of despair, I phoned my mom crying down the phone, and I never do that, ever. And I don't talk about my health problems either, really. I keep them to myself. Phone my mom crying down the phone, saying, can you keep Millie for another week? Because I got this thing and I can't cope. And she was like, yeah, sure, fine. And then brought me soup. When she returned Millie a week later, she brought me Caribbean soup, Saturday soup, to heal me. But I had 2 weeks to myself, you know, where I was able to meditate, where I was able to eat properly, where I was able to fast, where I was able to be quiet and think and not do anything other than be focused on me. So it's been very clear to me in the last 2 months how my physiological state affects my spirituality. The two work in tandem. And if you want to be at the highest spiritual level, whatever that is, go as high as you can go, you must take control of your physical vessel. And it's remembering that we are not our physical vessel. We are spirit. We can take control of this vessel quite easily. But I think what Irijah just said over and over again, which has been just resonating like buzzing in my ear, Irijah, is discipline. Discipline. Be disciplined in what you say. Be disciplined in what you eat. Be disciplined in what... Because when you're saying certain things, I'm like, do I have the discipline to do that though? Could I go on a 10-day silence? I talk a lot, as you can tell. I got a big mouth. Could I do 10 hours a day for how long did you go? 10 weeks?
10 days.
10 days. See, I don't know if I could do that, but I probably could. You know,
probably could. Yeah.
It's knowing that you can. It's knowing, because again, it's all mind, isn't it?
Yeah,
and you said it earlier, attention.
I mean, listen, after the 3rd day, I was like, oh God, get me out of here. I want to talk. But then it was like, by the 5th day, I was like, okay, I could do this. I've been here already half the time, you know? And then by the end, it was like the last day, everybody's talking. You're like, no, pull me away from all these people talking. It's too much. It's too much stimulus. So you realize like how much stimulation you need to really, you know, be putting out and to be receiving. And then there was one thing that I wanted to say that you both said about not just the discipline, but it's just about, all right, it'll come back to me. Let's keep going.
Well, I think we're all in agreement. Everything works in tandem: physical, spiritual, mental. So I pretty much echo everything you guys have said thus far. In general, though, I would add, it's not just discipline; it's also structure. Because you can have the best of intentions, but if you don't actually act on the intention and say, start setting your alarm back an hour, or taking that 30-minute walk that you sometimes may not even feel like taking, that structure is not going to develop. That's with any modality in life: physical, mental, or spiritual. So the second question we're going to go right into, what does working on your spiritual health look like for you?
Well, working on my spiritual health, I would say easy and basic thing is to be still. Because when I'm still, that's when I can hear, right? And this is what I wanted to say before. We are not just our bodies. So it's like, you are not the body. You are the soul. So it's like being still enough to listen to the soul, to become the observer, right? So that is like what it looks like. It looks like me becoming the observer, taking time to be still, to do yoga, to pray, to meditate, to chant, to sing. I'm not a singer, but you know, all of us, we like songs, so we sing it, right? But reminding myself this is a practice. Like, none of this is like, this is like, some of these things, some of the little nuggets are simple. Begin again, start again. It's just like, it looks like beginning again, starting again. I'm not even gonna say like, oh, not making myself wrong, because sometimes I'm wrong. You know, and my brother knows. I will be the first to be like, yeah, I was wrong. But, you know, beginning again, starting again. And in those moments, being still.
That's a superpower in itself. I just had to point out accountability, because a lot of people struggle with that too. You can be wrong all day, but if you sit with it and don't admit it, or if you sit with it and aren't open enough to be yourself and say, hey, how can I learn from this, and extend that to the next person, you'll never get anywhere. Just wanted to point that out.
And you know what? I will say it ain't always been like that. So it's like one of those growth things where it's just like, on the other side, I'm like, I'm either going to sit with this resentment and anger and guilt and worry and doubt for the next 5 days. Or in this moment when I'm feeling all of that flush of stuff, I can give myself a few minutes and then I can say, you know what? Can I talk to you quick? Because I'm feeling all of these things and I don't want to just like either lay it on me or lay it on you. So I just want to like, usually recently I've been saying like, I don't want to bury these things. So let's just like put them on, you know, but that's, it looks like, you know, sometimes the truth doesn't feel good, but it will make you feel good to be like, I was wrong. I did that. And then you're like, and I acknowledged it. And now we're like complete. We're free. I'm free.
Caroline, you look like you got something that you've been marinating on.
No, I know I'm very conscious. I'm talking a lot, and what's interesting is I was scared of this, and now I can't shut up. But what does working on? It's you, Irijah. You've absolutely like prodded all these thoughts in my mind, like you triggered all these, like in a good way, all these like thought processes. So my brain's firing off. So working on my spiritual health for me is absolutely what Irijah said about being quiet. As loud as I am, I love being by myself and I love being in reflection, and I've always been that way. But I think creativity, what I've come to learn is, and it's something that took me a while to really get, but I was doing highly spiritual things and didn't know I was doing it. And I think a lot of people do that. You know, if you've got a hobby, if there's something that you can sit and do for hours quietly by yourself, that's spiritual practice, you know. But we're kind of led down this road that you have to do this and you have to do that. And I feel like my journey, what the Most High wants me to do, is promote this. And again, that's why I like what Irijah said, because you don't have to do what they tell you to do in terms of spiritual practice. If you're mindful, if you're quiet, if you are able to be inside of yourself, however that presents. Erin Lyons talks about this as well, and I like Erin Lyons. Cooking, cleaning, you know, washing your car, gardening, painting, anything creative. And maths and science is also creative. You know, we've been led to believe those things are not creative, but they absolutely are. So any kind of movement, my mind was opened up to the fact not long ago that the way we dance as Africans, as, you know, in the diaspora or, you know, on the continent, it's all in the hips. It's all that movement. And where do you release that stuff in your body? In your hips. How is it that we just intuitively dance like that? So there's things that I think growing up were just standard procedure that was spiritual practice, but it was never presented to me as that is a spiritual practice. Mm-hmm. So, you know, my spiritual practice is the way I live my life every day. Cooking food from scratch, putting on my tunes, screaming at the top of my lungs, songs, dancing, you know what I mean? drawing a picture, anything. These are all spiritual practices, you know. And if you want to go to another level, there's ways you can go to other levels in different ways. Yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, all these things. But you don't have to do those things to be highly spiritual or to be taking part in a spiritual practice.
Mark, what you got?
Oh, I'm in agreement because we all have an innate ability to just do what's, you know, it's like how Irijah put it, as intuitive, right? Because through music, I think I shared that it's a form of release for me. And it's not just a release for things that I'm holding on to physically, right? It's some things that I've never experienced that through music, I put it out there and it's expressed through my vessel. My friend, one of my longest friends that I've had, he said, man, I like everything that you're doing, from putting out the book to how the subject matter of your music. He's like, you're leaving behind a legacy for family that hasn't gotten to know you as yet. I put something online the other day in memory of my grandmother. And I think that might have been what led him to call me, because we started talking about our grandfathers. And I have bits and pieces of memories of my mom's father. And he was telling me how he grew up in Trinidad with his grandfather on both sides, and they never really interacted with him like that. He said he thought they were racist because I think they're Indian and he's, you know, he has hair like us. And he said something that made me think in regards to the legacy piece. And I was like, you know what? I always told somebody who's been on the show before, Ann McQueen, that I make music for selfish reasons. And that's a part of it. It's like, yeah, I'm not really doing this to please anybody else or to have a #1 hit. It's really my self-expression, for me to be fully expressed. So that's a way that I work on my spiritual health, for sure.
Once again, we're all on the same page. I think we've all touched on journaling, on music, on how creative outlets move us forward, affirmations, all of these things. I will add to Iamai's point about creativity. He's more on the music side. I play with it, but everybody here knows that spoken word is my thing, poetry is my thing. That's honestly, it used to be my hiding place, and now it's my strongest source of expression. I would add to everybody else's points and also say that when you're in whatever focus you're in, especially when you're outside, take the time to notice what's outside as well. For me personally, that's been a strong source of meditation. That's also sometimes where I get downloads from. Like, I could be staring at the way a tree sways in the wind, or birds flying, or like when we say quirky, I'm one of those people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to take the time to notice the bees. I'm going to be fascinated by the praying mantis that just shows up randomly. And I'm going to take a look at the spiritual significance of that, things of that nature. Like, when you really tap into how your outer world can really benefit your inner world, I think that can also bring you closer to spiritual enlightenment, if you will, or further spiritual enlightenment.
I wonder if, it's just come to me, I'm going to say it, if this whole spiritual thing and spiritual enlightenment and elevation and all that is a bit like the whole organic vegetable things, you know, because organic only came in because they chemicalized everything. There was a time when you never said organic vegetables. You know, I wonder if there was a time, or there's spaces probably on the planet even now where they don't even talk about this because it's just what you do. It's because we're in these toxic environments and we've been deeply programmed by the TV, and now we've got the devices and the internet and the social media and all these things that are leading us to have to seek it out more, you know.
I think so. I mean, I'm I'm far from an expert. I'm gonna put that out there first. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. But going through the, my own process and doing the research and stepping outside of the boxes that I was in, the indoctrinations and all of those things, and literally taking the time to study different types of spirituality, religions, all of those things, what I've noticed is that there have been stark edits, obviously, from humans who have their own agendas. But at the core of each of these things, there's a lot of similarities. So that proves, in my opinion, that proves to me that at one point there was just an idea of being spiritual as a spiritual being. There wasn't, these subsects wouldn't have been necessary if it wasn't for human interference, I guess is the best way to say that. And I would also venture to say that everybody could do a better job of not, infringing their opinions on other people. Like, just because this particular study or this particular thing doesn't work for you doesn't mean it doesn't work for the next person. Some people need traditional religion. Some people need that structure to find their spirituality. Some people, like myself, are more free-flowing and are open to learning, how these things come together. But if we can find a balance between the two and just allow people to live without being so judgmental and so, in my opinion, hell-bent on arguing, sometimes for no reason, I think there could be a lot more peace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to agree. There's no fun in this world with if we agreed with everything each other said. But if we could agree to disagree without backbiting, I think things could be a lot calmer. I think that's why we are where we are now. Things are naturally releasing themselves in the universe, and the people who aren't able to handle it are showing themselves.
Yeah, and it's and just to add to that, I think it is the children. I said it in my promo. It's when I find myself struggling sometimes, feeling like I know I've been sat down in my yard to do certain things, and there's other things I'm gonna do, but it's not that season right now. I'll come to it. But if I can feel like with the bombardment of information, like I should be doing this and I should be doing that. I think Synthonia touched on it earlier. Like, too much information can make you feel like you're not doing things right when you're doing everything perfectly. It is what it's supposed to be. And you've got to have the ability to listen to yourself and be intuitive to know I'm where I need to be right now. And it doesn't matter what you're doing or what you're doing or what you're doing, and shutting off the noise. But equally, the beauty of what we're living in right now, which is what I love, is that some of the things that Irijah's traveled the world for, I can go on YouTube and get a tutorial on it. We couldn't do that before, and I'm the generation when I went to university at 18, the internet had just come out. So I'm the generation where you have to go to the library and find a book and pull out that book and read that book. And if you can't do that, you've got to actually go to a class physically. Now we can do virtual classes. We can find a YouTube tutorial. There's all these other ways. Like, now I can sit and listen to Irijah over Zoom. Mm-hmm. Before lockdown, we weren't even doing that.
True.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah. But you got to manage that. That's the thing. You got to manage that feeling within yourself, or it can become overwhelming. But if you can manage that feeling and give yourself the guidelines of your own spiritual journey, things like breath work I've come across on YouTube, which I had no idea of. And then it helps when you're reinforced by somebody that's a teacher like Irijah, because now I know that's the right way, because you're a teacher in it and you've gone and learnt off these people. So yeah, the information age is a double-edged sword.
For sure.
All right, I'm asking questions now, aren't I?
Yeah.
So, How do you stay motivated when the work becomes difficult?
I feel like my answer is the same every time. I pause and I reflect. I check in. I check in with my body. Staying motivated. It's tough, right? Because sometimes we get let down. Like, never ever said it was perfect. I never said it was a bed of roses. Living in another country where they consider sometimes a third world country or developing country, right? It's sometimes not always fair. But I pause. Yeah, I check in with myself. And in those times where it feels challenging, like just moving through it, like not trying to fight it, not trying to force it, but just even looking at like those areas where I might feel like I'm intense, right? And if I'm working with a client and my client is like, oh, I want to stop smoking cigarettes. But I'm like, but do you really? And there's this part that goes, though, you're not gonna always, as a coach, check in. Have you smoked? No, you're gonna come to a point where you stop and you're just gonna ask about them, want to know about their life, because it's not about just that. So it's really looking at like not forcing a thing, but working through it, right? Not trying to go around a thing, but if I'm the example, then I've given up the smoking, right? If I'm the smoker in the relationship and my partner is smoking, then he sees me not, or whatever the case is. But it's that awareness of like, okay, so I'm all I got, and then when I realize I have a community, let me reach out to my mentors, let me reach out to my friends who are positive around me, because I can't stay in the slumber. I can, we can, right? But then it becomes like a chronic disorder of grief, which is like we know that we don't want to be in that place, but we know that's a place where we can go. And so to stay motivated, I keep good people around me, and yeah, I check in and like, okay, I don't want to be in this space for too long, because we're gonna, eat this, we're gonna drink that, we're gonna put on this, we're gonna put on that, and it's kind of like that's gonna lead me in a spiral of like more chronic depression, right? So I think, finding ways to stay inspired, go outside, put my feet in the grass, right? Go to the beach. Like I said, I'm a sea person, so I love any place that has water. Writing, yeah. And then sometimes it's even like checking in with my family. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, no children yet. But yeah, if the day comes, checking in with my family, because they're the ones who always kind of keep me grounded. Like, where am I? Why do I feel so disarray and distracted? What's going on with them? Because maybe something's going on with them. When I was away, I was having some crazy dreams. I was thinking about my sister. Something happened to her children. And then when the thing ended, I was like, are you okay? Are all the children okay? But it's just like trust and faith. So it's like I have this little necklace piece thing here that is actually like a mirror, but inside of it says faith. And it reminds me, like, that's, faith, keep the faith. And it's not even in English, just in Portuguese, which I'm not Portuguese, but like there's some sort of connection between me and Brazil. So yeah, speak a little bit of Portuguese, pouco português.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think it's individual, and I think it comes back to like our passions and our purpose, and the community that we built around us.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you. Let's go to you, Adriana.
To follow up on that point, I think it's also important to revisit yourself. I don't think, and this is something that I'm learning in real time, for context, I don't think we enough revisit where we came from. You know what I mean? The person 10 years ago, the person 15 years ago. Not everybody journals, right? But in whatever way you've documented, look back at your pictures, look back at, if you're a songwriter, look back at your songs, look back at your artwork, and look at how you've elevated in your life. Revisiting those spaces where you were darker, where you were less mature, where you were more likely to make irresponsible decisions, like most people in their 20s. like revisit those things and appreciate how you came through them and how you no longer, say revisit those points. Understand that that's all a part of the journey. I don't think we do that enough. I think it's a lot of, especially in the Black community, questions of worthiness, right? So if you don't think you're worthy of appreciating yourself, you'll stay stagnant as well. It's just constant self-study. I think that keeps me motivated. Like with having a bunch of asterisks, I'll say, in addition to just going on this path from the CPTSD to the anxiety to the depression stuff to the bipolar stuff, all of those things combined with doing this work makes it more of a challenge, but it also gives you more of an opportunity to see just how similar you are to other people, because just because you have those tags doesn't necessarily mean that you're different from anybody else. You just have a different way of seeing things. So self-study for me, I think, in addition to everything that's already been mentioned, is how you stay motivated. Keep believing that you can do better than you did yesterday. Keep believing that you can do better than you did 30 minutes ago, truthfully, and being confident in that as much confidence as you can muster, I could say, because there's self-esteem stuff as well. It's all in self-study. It's all in learning to believe in yourself. And I push that in my own life. I push that to those that come to me and ask for advice and things of that nature. I even push that in my artwork, because it seems like that's a shortcoming, especially in the communities we're trying to touch. We're trying to touch everyone, right? But I think we all can relate to the idea that our people, African-American people, people of the diaspora all over the world, have a particular type of deficit when it comes to that. And there's a lack of intentionality with that. So I think self-study is super important.
And can I just ask you, do you feel like, because we've sort of talked about it off camera, but do you feel like you're going through a more intense period right now as well? So it's like staying on, continuing, it requires more effort because a lot of things. It's a question.
Okay. So yeah, I would say in general, 100%. Like as you elevate in this journey, it doesn't get easier, it gets more complex, which means it's as you say move forward from your first stages of revelations, you're going to experience more complex revelations. That's where I am now. Like when you think that your dark night of the soul is the most complex thing you're going to experience, then you start connecting with the Most High, then you start having these vivid dreams that you have to study and interpret, and all of these things make everything else more complex. When you have to go into exploring what your tribe really looks like and how people that you love with all your heart may not be a part of your tribe, things of that nature make things hard, especially for me as an empath. So yes, 100%. But I mean, in staying motivated, in talking with you guys, in asking the questions and reading the books, and constantly scraping my knees and getting back up every single day, I find value in that. And that lets me know, even when I, haven't meditated yet, or if I haven't prayed or whatever the case may be, that alone, the fact that I'm willing to continue going, even though I am struggling, or, I'm having a great day, is what pushes me forward. So absolutely, yes, I think it's important to note to everybody that this spiritual thing is beautiful, but it's also complex, just like everything else that's worth anything in this world. Just like love, just like truly living your life, just like being a mother in your case, being a father, you know what I mean? All of those things make life worthwhile, but they also take an immense amount of work and constant study.
Yeah, and I think if the Most High decides you're going to get cracked open, mate, you're going to get cracked open. You can't, you can't hide from that. If the Most High is putting you in this situation, you either get on board and move, or, well, you got no other choice. And it's that, what is it, pressure on creates diamonds or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you are a diamond, and I think we've all grown together in the past year. I think all of us, you've definitely changed in a positive way. Not that there was a problem in the first place, but you can see the growth, and so have I. I see it in all of us. You know, we're all a bit different because we've all kind of influenced each other in that way. Emmanuel.
So, watching your promo, Caroline, it really made me think about the work, right? And it not being something that gets hard. It's the things that come up while doing work. And I thought about my sister's answer. Irijah said, yeah, so my answer is pretty much the same for everything, but that's consistency. We're doing the work. You're taking that time. And taking that time to get in tune with the inner world through breath. Because the breath connects us to the inner world and the outer world. We take in and we give. And that's something that just came up for me when I was thinking about how this question could be answered by myself. And something else my sister said was about the community that we have, right? So y'all are positive enablers for me. And I surround myself with positive enablers. In my promo, I talked about how I stay on path by not wanting to go back to where I came from. But in truth, it's like without that, I'm not who I am. So all of it is what makes me who I am. And just being able to recognize that as part of this journey is what keeps me going on the path when things can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, because I can't imagine you being in a room with people talking negative stuff. I just couldn't see you doing that.
It wasn't too long ago that, you know, that was the norm. Not so much like every word is negative, but it was the music we were listening to, the consumption of outside stimulants, it was the everyday life. I mean, I was on edge, for sure, on edge. And I can look over the edge now and see like, oh, it's a pretty deep fall. Let me back up a little. So being there got me here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't, if we're working as a global community to elevate each other and help each other, you have to tell the truth and you have to face the fact that, you know, you came from something to become something.
For sure. I was sorry to cut you off. While I remember this from book club, John shared something, and it was about if Maya Angelou died in her, I think it was her 20s, we would have only remembered her as a prostitute. If Malcolm X would have died in his 20s, we would only remembered him as Red, which was the pimp, the hustler, and you know, there's more life to people. We're not just one way. We're like, Aunt McQueen says this, people are like onions. We have layers to ourselves that get peeled back as we progress through life.
Yeah, and they were able to overcome the guilt and the shame of it in order to uplift others. Because again, those things are not real. They're just constructs that are put upon us to lower our vibration. You know, but most people are just not honest. So there's a lot of people out there acting like that, but they got their closet's deep full of skeletons. You know what I mean? So it's like what I enjoy, and I say it again, what Adriana's first piece was my introduction to really who you are, Adriana, because it was so raw and so honest, and it had so many elements in there where I was like, rah, you know, because you don't hear people say it out loud like that. And the fact that you did showed me, one, how courageous you are, and two, where you're headed. Because it's empowering. What it says is, she said it out loud and nothing happened. You know what I mean? Like, the lightning bolt didn't strike her. She didn't combust and turn into fire. You know what I mean? all of us, when we talk our truth, it frees us and it takes us closer to God. But they've got us so wrapped up in this perception of right and wrong. And even on the spiritual path, what I think is dangerous is people thinking right and wrong. For me to be elevating, I've got to meditate for an hour a day. I've got to pray for 15 minutes. I've got to write 20. I fall for it sometimes, like, oh, you didn't do this today, so now you're off the path. And it's just not true. You just got to be love, high frequency. So Irijah, let me just remember the question. What's the question? How do you stay motivated? Oh, you already answered it, haven't you? You answered it at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's one
Elaborating on the nuance of it all. Well, just to kind of put a button on this question about owning the truth, it's also the ownership, right? Like, you can be truthful, but do you own that as a part of your path? That's something that you learned from. Because I think that's where the disconnect lies with a lot of people. It's being afraid of what that looks like and outside perception. But once you take ownership of it and recognize that that's part of your superpower, that you're able to stand on your own 2 feet and look at yourself in the mirror and love yourself despite that, that's where you start to gain your clarity. You know, we judge ourselves more than we judge others, and that's saying a lot in these days and times. Unfortunately, judgment is another high priority issue that needs to be dropped. But, you know, once we get to that place where we can say, I did this, and this, but you know what, it also taught me these things, and now I am this. That's when we're winning the game.
Yeah, because it makes me think, I know it's a bit abstract, but it made me think about something like porn. You know, staying away from porn for my generation as a young person was nothing, because you couldn't access it. You know, there were certain shops, you had to be over 18 to get in there. They were on the top shelf in the newsagents, and really it wasn't no hardcore nothing. It's just like women with their breasts out. Now, for young people to stay away from porn, it's a whole nother challenge. You know, it's here all day long, accessible. So it's also about knowing that the external environment is creating these challenges for you. There's challenges that people don't face because it's not in their environment. So if you're in a highly charged environment where there's abuse, violence, you know, high level of negative sexualization and all these things, you've got a different battle to fight than, say, somebody that lives in a rural community, they don't watch TV, they, you know, peaceful environment. So I think that just triggered that for me. And I think the way I stay motivated when the work becomes difficult, as I said in my promo, the work isn't really difficult. I like it. I like meditating, I like praying, I like writing, I like singing, I like all that stuff. What I don't like is that some of the external stuff. And for me to, like, you know, that's when I feel like I'm and I know I always know now that it's God, that it's the Most High, and it's a mirror, and it's to sharpen me. But it doesn't change the fact that sometimes I just get triggered, and I get triggered as an empath, because I just like, this is wrong. Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't have to be dealing with. I had a situation this week with these agents, and she's blatantly lying, and I'm going to her, you're lying though. Yes, but, and then I'm terminating this call. And of course you're going to terminate the call because I'm calling you a liar and you can't tell the truth, but you and I know that you're lying. And that's for me, the staying motivated bit is just going, also being true to myself, which I feel like the Most High said to me, is just say what you need to say. Stop seeing things and being silent. I'm empowering you. I need you to speak. So in that moment, don't act like you believe her. Tell her the truth. You're lying to me though. I know that's a lie. And watch them squirm. And it is a mirror. And it's me being conscious in those moments of, I don't want to look like that. I don't want to do that. You know, that's the mirror. that's another way of staying focused on the path and staying motivated on the path, is seeing the relevance and the contrast and the reflection for myself, because this is in my reality for a reason. So if I don't take the time to look at what that reason might be, then I lose the opportunity to grow, you know. And we all know growing pains, expansion of consciousness, spirituality, there's going to be growing pains. And I'm one of those people, it keeps coming up in my reality, so I know it's obviously something I need to pay attention to. I'm one of these people that just wants an easy life. I just want easy life. God's going, that life ain't like that. You're not here to just chill, Kaz, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be challenge and you need to accept it. But I'm like, but God, I don't want an easy life. So, you know, I think that's a big part of it as well, is just acceptance that it is what it is. So the last question is, how do you know that you've progressed spiritually? I'm Manuel.
I think you said it, acceptance. Accepting like the experiences I've had, not being overly judgmental of where I am right now, and also just thinking about what does it mean to grow spiritually. Is that something that I'm gauging off of a definition that somebody made up, or is it something like already always knowing, like, all right, this is the next stage in my spiritual growth, because I haven't been here before and this seems new to me. So it's questioning sometimes. It's acceptance and also having that question in mind of, okay, this feels new. What is this going to be like? Reach a new level.
Nice, thank you. Irijah.
Yeah, I think this question is interesting because it's like made progress. And I'm like, okay, yeah, there's this level of like happiness for all, unconditional love, and I'm just serving humanity. That's how I will know. And then what it really culminates as is like active integration, living intentionally, actively integrating all of the things into a way that works for me. And then I guess if I wanted to take it even a step professionally, you know, having a program for others, then that will have me know that I've made actual progress, because I've had, like Imani said, a living legacy of what can support other people. Yeah. And so I think in part, even as I'm listening to that, I heard myself say, oh, well, you have a website, right? So that's a start, but it's just like building in all of the things so that it's like accessible, right? The scholarships are accessible. The free consultations are accessible. The free classes are accessible. The accessibility. So even in this conversation, I'm growing even deeper into be like, am I accessible, you know, to all people, right? So yeah, that's definitely parameters. You know, parameters and parameters.
And I want to add to that, just because it's been hammered, accessible and valuable. Because something else that this group has taught me, and it was something that I was really struggling to get, was my value. How important my voice is, and how that somebody seeing me, I can change their reality. And I was aware of that in the real world, maybe like yourself, working in hospitals and working directly with people. You see the fruits of your labor in that capacity. So you know you're valuable. But I think what I want to be really clear on with you today is there's something, again, synchronicity, special about you. Something really special about your voice and your energy and the way you come across. You know what I'm saying? And that you have that ability to reach people that no one else can reach. So your accessibility is essential because of your value. And a lot of the time, I think all of us don't really understand our value. And I think Emmanuel, for me as well, has, I'm going to say this, you've helped me understand my daughter more, because I see parallels in the way you are. Because Emmanuel's 2 days before my daughter's birthday. And I see that kind of, I always say that it shocked me when I saw Emmanuel perform, because in book club, I just didn't, I had no idea. I absolutely never thought it'd be like, when I was dancing to Authentic the other day, and I'm just listening, like, your delivery is just fire. You know what I mean? You're so humble with it that it's easy to just, you know, but you need to be told that, like, your delivery's fire, your lyrics are fire, your music is fire. But in book club, I had no idea.
In book club, I'm all studious and taking notes and
yeah, no idea. But I see that with Millie, that she's got layers to her that no one knows. The only people that know are me, Ome, her sister, and my mom. And not even my mom knows some of these levels. Like, Millie's a little genius in certain ways, but she just doesn't show people. So therefore people don't know it exists, you know? So it's kind of like, if the Most High's put these things in you, you got a responsibility to get it out and get it to the masses, because now we've got the modalities to get it to the masses in a way that we couldn't before, you know? But like I say, if you do anything, Irijah, I'm there, mate. I'm in that class. I'm listening to the talk. Because you are brilliant.
Thank you. Love it. Thank you.
On to you, Adriana.
Well, I mean, in addition to what's already been said as far as how you know you've improved, for me personally, I'm stubborn, you know, as an Aries with Taurus placements as well, like super bullheaded. So I have a tendency to get in my own way in that way. I know I've made progress when I've gotten out of my own way and come to acceptance, and in learning those lessons. Also, something that I'm learning in real time now is the simple way to put it. I love the quote, not my circus, not my monkeys. You know, as an empath, even if you don't want to, sometimes you find yourself in situations where you are involved in other people's stuff, and you can be helpful, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to always be in other people's stuff, other people's conversations and things of that nature. There's an art to detachment as well, to protect your peace, to protect your energy, and to keep you focused on what the goal is. That's why I asked the question I asked earlier about being a light in the midst of darkness. Even those things, asking questions, being open to critique, all of those things, in my opinion, are signs of spiritual progress. Because when you're in your infancy in this thing, you're so worried about doing things right or wrong that you may not necessarily get those questions answered or whatever, because you're too stuck in your head. You know what I mean? Like that was me in the beginning of when I went through, you know, traditional mental health therapy. I'm still doing it, but you know what I mean? Not as much as I was. I was on a weekly basis with a therapist. Things like that, like being open to those things, even is spiritual progress. There was a time in my life where I wouldn't even consider it because I was raised to believe that was crap. You know what I mean? Like there was no purpose in it. There's the don't ask, don't tell thing in the Black community. That's also something that I had to shake, and was a bit ostracized for it, actually, you know, for being that one person who wanted to see what that's like, because I'm tired of all of this. Like, you guys are saying that these things work, but I'm not seeing the fruits of that. I'm just seeing you constantly arguing or constantly intoxicated or constantly at odds about something that happened weeks ago that should have been resolved, things of that nature. Like, I want to know how to come to peace. And I think to simply answer the question is to continue with the self-study and ask questions. Be open to critique and be open to constantly being a student. Life is something that you learn from each and every day. And if you're not learning something every single day, something is wrong and you're kind of missing the point of it. So that's how you, in my opinion, that's how I think you've made spiritual progress. If you're continuing to learn, if you're continuously open to something different, and if you're open to listening to all types of different minds, reading different books, consuming different things that can elevate you, that's spiritual progress to me.
Yeah, nice answer. I like it. And I'll end with what I think for me is again, listening to Brené Brown. I really like her, and she said something about the opposite. What was it? The opposite to courage is armor, putting on your armor. And I feel like, especially in this period I'm in right now, the Most High has been showing me really clearly the armor that I've got on, which is why, or I've had on, which is why you guys have been so significant, because it took a lot of courage for me to get to here. And I know that in different ways you've said it yourselves. I know Synthonia said it, you've said it, Adriana. You know, for me to be in the app and then to start the group and then to have some challenges along the way and to stay in it and to not let my mind go down these roads of defense, of armor, you know, of being open to just keep loving. Because I know logically, I know spiritually, that for me to really live the life that I want to live, I have to shed this armor. But it doesn't stop the armor coming on. Do you know what I mean? And even in terms of like things like relationships and that, I'm being shown, like, for instance, as an example, jealousy. Like, I can be disgusting with that. You know what I mean? That's why the whole polygamy thing was such a big conversation, because, like, don't put me in competition with no one. And if I feel like somebody else has got access to you and I want that access, that can create jealousy in me, you know. And I see myself going into this like wildfire in my mind and my heart of like, kill them, you know what I mean? It's not, I don't really want to kill them, but it's this energy that I don't like, and I know that it goes all the way back. So I think for me to know about making spiritual progress as well, it's about, and it's a challenge, and God's been showing me, which is deep, because you just get these downloads, is tracing it back to the beginning. Where did that start? When did I start feeling like I'm not safe in this situation, that you might potentially go and do this? And then when did I then choose to start having these thoughts about things? You know what I mean? And I think that, again, the gender wars thing that's going on is a play on that. I'm going down a funny road here, but I'm just going to say it because it was going through my mind all day yesterday. Simps. And what's the term they use for women? They use simps for men. And it's not people pleasers. When you're trying to attract the man, what do they call it? Does anybody know? What's the term?
Nothing positive.
There's a term that they use. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head now. My daughter's told me all about it.
Know what you're referring to. Jeez,
you know,
what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's been changed so many times. Like I've heard soft life, I've heard super feminine, I've heard weak even. You know what I mean?
Submissive.
There you go. That's
not submissive. No, there's an actual like popular culture term, like simp. Oh my gosh, it will come to me afterwards, and I'll put it in the notes or whatever. But I was like, what kept coming, because God was like, he was drumming it all day long. It was going through my head yesterday. And it was like, where did these terms come from? Where did they originate from? You know, what, and what I love now, I've watched a few podcasts where the men are saying, I'm a simp and I don't care. What is a simp? A man that is sensitive and caring and has empathy and wants to put you on. Why would you call him a simp? Things that are good for us now, we got these labels on, you know. And I think for me to know about my own spiritual progress is going back to the beginning and going, where did this start? Because you know you shouldn't be feeling like this, you know you shouldn't be thinking like this, you know you can't go into a new relationship with these jealous tendencies, with this toxic kind of ownership, where, you know, if it's not like this, like when, you know, not saying me personally, I don't really care, but when, you know, you have people saying, if they don't show me on social media, then I can't be in that relationship because they're hiding me. What if they don't show anybody on social media? What's that got to do with anything? So it's like just really tracing everything back to the roots. And I know I've made spiritual progress when the trigger comes and I'm all right with it. And I can see 2 years ago I'd be steaming. There'd be steam coming out my nostrils. But today I'm cool with it. Wow. You know, how did that happen? But we've all got it. And I think that's the bottom line that underpins it all. It's whether you're honest enough to say it. We've all got it, because all this stuff starts right at the beginning. It doesn't start yesterday. It starts from childhood. So it's unpacking that. And I think what the universe has done for me is gives me those out of nowhere, because consciousness is not your mind. It's not memories, it's consciousness, and consciousness will speak to you. So consciousness is speaking to me and go, remember this, remember that, remember when that happened and then you did this. And that can be a really emotional process. So remember when the friends that you trusted betrayed you. That's why you didn't want to do this with this group. That's why when such and such happened, you wanted to run for the hills and go, I'm not a part of this. But this situation here, the Most High's like, again, put me in a headlock and said, you can't run. These people, Emmanuel, Adriana, Synthonia, you're never going to meet them. They're unique and they're special. And if you run, you're only hurting yourself. So you're going to have to sit your ass there and keep going. You know, in a headlock, you're staying there, mate, you're staying. And in staying, I've grown. I've been able to experience this beautiful love from you all in different ways. Being unwell and not being able to do certain things on this podcast and whatever we're doing, the love that's come back to me from you and the patience and the empathy and the understanding, like, crack me open, man. I've been in my yard bawling because I'm like, these are some beautiful people. How? But we're a mirror. And that's the other growth, the other sign of growth and progress is the mirror. What you attract into your world, you know what I mean? That shows you who you are. So I think we're all right. What do you think?
I agree.
I think I found out the word that you were looking for. Is it traditional?
No, it's a term. What do they call it?
Okay.
It's when the woman is doing things to try and not a pleaser, trying to trap the man, but it's like a social media term that they use to like put girls down when they do it.
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I just ignore it because I don't subscribe. Like, I think that's ignorance, truthfully. But I know what you're referencing. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I don't know why the term isn't coming to me either.
Yeah. And again, it's like the simping thing. Why would that be labelled as negative? Why, if you like somebody and you're trying to show them that you like them, why has that now got a negative term attached to it? And you're made to look like you're some...
I think it might have changed a bit, because simp at least when I was growing up, it was more so of somebody that was like gullible. So you're simping and you're spending your last, you don't really got it. You're doing the most and you don't have to, because somebody else was able to get the attention of the person they're just trying to get without doing everything that you're doing. And you're putting yourself in a place where, well, this is from my understanding of what like growing up. That's what we were saying, oh, you simping right now in that way. So I'm not sure how it elevated and changed to what it means now, but a lot of things have changed in terminology.
I think a lot of that's conditioning too. Like obviously we as human beings are gonna beat each other up for this reason or that reason, right? Until we learn to do better. But there's also that conditioning based on the media, the music, the so-called arts versus the real arts, all of these things that also hammer that point home to be divisive and to be against one another, that pushes that forward. I don't think it would be half as toxic as it is if it wasn't constantly promoted as entertainment. Like that's a constant. That is a constant. And how are you going to tell, say, a 16-year-old to ignore that? They're 16. They don't do as much caring about anybody else but themselves because they're a teenager. they're going through the growing pains of learning who they are, and part of doing that is being hard-headed and being stubborn. So that, I think that's part of the problem right now, trying to express upon these things to the younger generations, but them also being like, I just don't want to hear what you have to say, and this is right because I see it every day. And we know different because we've lived, you know what I mean? We've had our time being hard-headed and having to learn, and you kind of want to protect them from everything. Unfortunately, there is that lack of a boundary that we had. We were still able to play outside. We still understood what it was like to not be in front of a screen all day. Those indoctrinations and those poisons, in my opinion, didn't help matters. I think it made them a lot worse.
True talk. And I think on the next one, when we're doing the outer world, I'm going to find that term because it was going through my head all day yesterday. I don't know why it's disappeared out of my mind. I can't access it. But I'm going to find that term, and it's going to be part of the questions, I think. Simping, the term for the females, and another one, looks maxing. Again, something my daughter's told me about. That, you know, you got all these young people now trying to looks max. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with spirituality. It's all to do with external image and attracting somebody on your external. And this is, again, what I was kind of talking about in my promo. That
what did you say it's called? Looks max?
Looks maxing. Look it up, yeah. So it's making yourself as physically attractive as possible. So you got boys and girls doing it.
Wow.
You could also describe that as an energy vampire too, right? Like I don't know if the term matters as long as we know exactly what it is that we're talking about. At the end of the day, it's toxicity at its core. It's just being reinvented for whatever generation is taking a hold of it.
Yeah, and it's just scary. It's just absolutely terrifying that these children are growing up in a world where they're taught what matters is the way you look. If you want a partner, you've got to maximize the way you look, and you've got no chance if you don't do that. Like, that's terrifying to think they would grow up thinking that. Not that you're valuable no matter what, and someone's going to look at you. So part 2, we're gonna address this because it's external world stuff. These external world labels, and I think we've come to a natural end. So, does anybody want to add anything before we close?
Yeah, before we close, I just wanted to thank Irijah for joining us and find out if you do have anything coming up that you'd like to share with us, whether it be a virtual retreat or in-person retreat, or we didn't get to talk about the 38 Ways to Discover Freedom, your book that you have out and about. So just share what's
Well,
going on.
okay, I'll start with that. So my thank you very much again, Emmanuel, Caroline, Adrian, Sintonia, is that how you say your name? Sorry, I don't want to get everyone's name really in the beginning, but I just want to say, yeah, thank you again. Yeah, first thing, if you want to support what I'm doing, you can do that through my book. It's on Amazon, 38 Ways to Discover Freedom. Buy it on Kindle if you don't want the physical copy, right? You can subscribe to my mailing list on my website, iritravels.com. That's IRIE Travels, TRAVELS.com. And yeah, join our mailing list and you'll find out what's coming up. Right now, there aren't any online courses or retreats, but 2026, definitely there'll be things coming. So by the end of this month, definitely look for some programs, some donation contribution offerings, and even some free offerings. So there'll be things, but the most important thing is to join the community by subscribing to the website. And if you have questions, shoot me an email through the website as well. So that's iritravels.com. I am on most of the social media platforms, but the best way to reach me is going to be through the website.
All right, well, you are the Well-Beings. This has been the Well-Beings podcast, and as per usual, it's been absolutely beautiful. Irijah, you are a blessing. You brought your beautiful light into the space. You shared your knowledge and your wisdom and your life experiences, and I know all of us are going to go away, probably not Emmanuel because he knew it all anyway. He knew it all anyway. But we're going to go away with new perspectives and, like I say, triggered off synapses to go and start thinking about other things. And I'm really grateful and excited about you coming on the second one.